So if you haven't heard of Tallknight, why are you lying to yourself? You've probably seen every YouTuber imaginable talk about him. From Ludwig to Pyra to Moist Critical to Umperville. But if you still don't know who I'm talking about, you may be familiar with the amount of Swagger Souls impersonators there are, because there are a lot. He's one of the most impersonated YouTubers, ranging from his helmet to his voice. Because a lot of teenagers can impersonate his low somber voice, and a majority of them play it off as, oh, my voice was always like this, whilst they are holding their testicles in their hand, and give him a good squeeze like the grapes just to impersonate that voice. And the other ones just put on the helmet. And Tallknight is kind of no different. He does idolise Swagger Souls, even to the point where Swagger Souls recognised him, and even though it was hateful recognition, he was still happy about it. Like, this guy had a reaction like a K-pop fan had just been stomped on by, I don't know, a fucking BTS member. But anyway, I'm getting ahead of myself. Who is Tallknight? He's basically a 6-foot version of Swagger Souls that mainly uploaded positive videos on TikTok, most of them being about men's mental health and just very relatable things. But looking from the outside, they must have not all been positive because his TikTok has been completely removed, and he's had to resort to using an alt account, where currently he's surrounded himself in self-pity, and his latest TikTok basically saying he'll have to go find a job now. Yeah, this guy went from having it all to now having to be normal and have a 9 to 5. Like, this guy ran it down mid and threw so hard. Like, just having the privilege to be exempt from a 9 to 5 is just such an achievement in your life. But he fumbled the bag and now here we are. But how did he get like this? But just to preface this, and out myself as the imposter, I can't believe I just made that reference, please end me. When I did have TikTok, I did watch his content. Because something about his TikTok or his head bobs or whatever the fuck he was doing, it just released serotonin in my very small brain. It was probably his head movement mixed up with the song in the background that probably did it for me. Yeah, it's not hard to entertain me apparently. But enough about me and my small brain. Tallknight's first bit of controversy was when he was thrown out of his house by his sister and her husband. And he was made homeless as a result. So he made a TikTok basically kind of begging for money and help.
Please don't scroll. I need help. I just got kicked out. I'm homeless now. I have nowhere to go.
And help he did receive. I didn't know people on TikTok were this generous and this kind, but they gave him 14,000 and even more, which he did give back, because apparently he wasn't that greedy enough to keep money he didn't need. And there was controversy that he was not even needing the money, but take that with a grain of salt as it is.
It's been an hour! An hour! Stop sending me money! I'll be okay!
But then the husband that threw him out basically came out with their side of the story, saying that he wasn't homeless and they gave him well notice for when he needs to leave. But at the time of making that TikTok, he wasn't kicked out yet and he had well enough time to get ready. And they even explained why he was kicked out. Basically, he was renting from them a small little room in their house, but he did have to abide by their rules. And it's important to note it was a Christian household, and he himself is Christian.
I'd let Elijah live with me since he turned 18, with me and my wife and my children. The understanding was that he was to be a normal house guest, operate under the understanding that this is my house. He lives here as a guest, does pay rent, not a lot.
So basically, Tallknight brings a girl round who is his girlfriend at the time. But this was unannounced, and the husband was not told about this, and they were said to be doing unchristian things without his knowledge.
Happened because he decided that it was in his prerogative to fly up a girl from out of state to stay in my house with my children and me and my wife without asking first.
And this is one of those situations where you have to understand both sides. Tallknight is paying rent, so he can kind of do whatever the fuck he wants in his room. But then again, it is not his house and he has to live by the husband's rules. So he should have at least told them his girlfriend was coming over, and probably not what they were doing. But this basically resorted to him saying, you have to be out by X day, and then Tallknight made the TikTok of him outside saying, I'm basically homeless now. At least that's what the husband's saying. No one to this day knows if it was fully a scam, or if he genuinely needed help. But there has been supposed evidence of him talking to gals and basically bragging that he got a bunch of money and he's got that bag on him, you know. But to be honest, Tallknight hasn't been the best at defending himself, and providing information that says this isn't him. So it's kind of he said, she said type thing, but he did give back some of the money that people supplied him, which is a big point when people bring this up. He could have just kept the money if he was scamming people. But Tall Knight responding to the husband coming out and saying all this stuff is just so poorly constructed. Firstly, on his own Discord, he basically said the husband gets pegged or something, which is a weird bit of information since this is your sister's husband, and he claims to be a positive TikToker, but he's spewing all of this shit. And he even goes as far to tell everyone that, you know, his sister has had problems with the law enforcement in the past and with children, so she isn't allowed around children. He even links the article and title of the article so people can research it themselves, which is kind of weird. This is your own sister. I wouldn't drop all the shit on her. But you will find out throughout this video he's terrible at responding to drama and responds a bit too much than he should. The next bit of drama he got into was him purposely not using the right pronouns for someone because he didn't like their music and thought it was weird that everyone was supporting this person, supposedly because they are trans and their music was terrible. Basically saying the people in the comments were only supporting them because they're trans.
When a while back, a transgender music artist, whose name I can't remember, they posted a video on TikTok promoting their music and how it was all cool and stuff because she was trans. And scrolling through the comments, and I was like, I'm really surprised no one's like saying anything in the comments. Just everyone was like...
But just to get on my high horse and have the moral high ground, don't take that seriously, I'm a complete idiot. But to be honest, he didn't really have to put his input into that conversation. They weren't really doing anything bad. They weren't hurting him. They weren't really doing anything to him, but he decided to make a negative situation out of it. And I get he wanted to be honest, supposedly in a room full of yes people, but he markets himself as a positive TikToker and he's spewing negativity, as I've mentioned before, and even admits to using the wrong pronouns purposely to create more negativity. But I think if he was a positive TikToker, he could have just avoided all of this by just keeping in his lane and not really saying anything and keeping his opinion to himself. At least that's my opinion. I generally believe that everyone should keep their shit to themselves and really just bother about themselves. And if someone isn't seriously harming you or affecting you, then you really don't have to get involved. Just keep your shit to yourself. And now you're staring at me saying, don't you make videos about people? And to you I say, fuck you, this video isn't about me. But basically my videos are always me just screaming into the void about my opinion. And if you agree, you agree. If you disagree, you disagree. But fuck you if you disagree. But anyway, when Tall Knight got backlash for this, he responded by making a TikTok, basically shitting on the situation and not taking it seriously at all.
Wait!
And then basically coming out with a video saying he's Christian and God made you perfect the way you are.
God created you perfect as you are.
Basically saying that if you've made the choice to change your gender, you're going against God's will. And I'm gonna be honest, not the best offense. And I get he's Christian, but, you know, forcing your beliefs onto other people doesn't really work majority of the time. And as you can tell, it extremely backfired. He got shat on even more, but I'm pretty sure he did apologise in the end, but kind of meaningless after you've said all that shit. And then things moved on, he lost a bunch of followers through that, but he kept uploading, and then he had another controversy. But just to touch on his point of, you know, I'm heavily Christian, I don't agree with this, God made you perfect the way you are. He has an OnlyFans where he shows his meat stick to everyone. Like, last time I checked, showing off your body on the internet isn't very Christian. The Pope hasn't shown his Holy Grail on his OnlyFans, although many people would like to see it. And it would probably get more donations for the church, let's be honest. But going back to the other situation, I literally can't find the music that he was listening to that he said was really bad. I wanted to see if it was good or bad myself, but I just can't find the person. But moving on to the next controversy, that out of the many he's had, like many Minecraft YouTubers, he was then accused of grooming, and it boiled down to him making TikToks of thirst traps where minors would respond and he would reply to them, not knowing their age or checking their profile, and when he did, he would just post a blind man walking emoji.
You were banned because you were marketing your adult content to your child fan base on TikTok. Like this video where you dance provocatively to a spicy song after one of your fans said they want to see it grow. And when you take 2 seconds to look at the girl who commented that, she is very clearly 15 years old.
Not the best offense, Saul Goodman's really going to have a hard time with this one. But you would also interact with underage people, once again saying that he didn't know they were underage, but he also sent pictures of himself and his meat stick to them. And you'd think learning from your mistakes was a thing, but apparently in this situation it isn't. But before he admitted that he sent pictures to this minor, his general point was he never really sexualized conversation with these people, and he never really did anything but compliment them. But now he's admitting that he sent pictures to them, and the screenshots of the conversations show something very different.
So you admit you did send explicit photos to this 16-year-old girl?
Yeah, that's absolutely my fault.
With this 16-year-old girl, how many separate times did you send explicit photos? Like a separate time?
It was just once, because
Okay.
she added me the night before, and then I ended up unediting her the following day.
So as you can tell, he's very terrible at getting his story straight and responding in general. And this whole thing got him banned from TikTok, meaning he had nowhere to pay rent or for food anymore. But what happened to all the money he had before? So in his very Christian mind, he decided to shill his Patreon and OnlyFans. And he made a fucky wucky with a Patreon where minors could just come through and pay for the subscription and see his dick, because he had forgot to put the Patreon setting on where people had to verify their age. So he got backlash for that, disabled the Patreon, and then moved fully to OnlyFans, where they take a bigger cut. But he did make an entire video where he drew on a piece of paper and put a skull emoji on it, basically explaining the timeline of events and trying to back himself up, because he is basically in a corner right now. But why do you need the skull emoji, and why do you need to do it on a piece of paper? We have paint, we have technology, why are you using this? Like, generally I think if someone like PewDiePie made this many mistakes, he would have just been gone off the platform, but this guy just continues to make more and more mistakes, all in the same year. I don't blame people for thinking he's an asshole or lying to them, because if you fuck up this hard, then it's on you. You're either explaining things poorly or just generally dumb to the point where you make these mistakes without knowing. And that's me giving him the benefit of the doubt that he didn't know what he was doing and these are genuine mistakes. But to close the situation about the minors and grooming, he made one of the worst excuses ever that has been used so many times in the past and doesn't make you look any better, where he brought up the age of consent law, which every Reddit degenerate is used in a conversation talking about this subject, and it never, ever makes you look any better when you finish explaining it. He basically said that majority of the people he was talking to was above the age of 16, and in Ohio, where he lives, very unfortunate. I say that, but I've been to Ohio multiple times. But the age of consent where he lives is 16, which makes it legally okay, but not morally okay. Just my 2 cents on the situation. Always wait until they're over 18 before you do any of these things, because you do not want to be in this hole. But just to wrap all of this up, we're going to talk about his response videos, which are absolutely dreadful. To be honest, in a response video you should be sharp and to the point, and be concise and as sympathetic as you can. But no, in this guy's response video, he was just throwing memes left and right and just keeping it. It was not a response video, it was a fucking meme video.
And it's actually kind of obvious.
I'm straight ballin'.
She refused to show the dates.
Like, it feels like I'm in an episode of Black Mirror watching that shit with how tone deaf it was. To conclude this entire video, for someone that was a positive TikToker, probably shouldn't have been this negative and had this many mistakes in their career. So that is going to wrap up the video. Enjoy this meme, and bye-bye.
If you want to finger a minor like a pro, start with this